In this video I'm going to show you how to do herringbone stitch. So herringbone stitch has two methods for starting. I'm going to show you the easy method, and we start with ladder stitch. So for this one you don't need a stopper bead because you're going to go through the first two beads once more, which anchors them in place. So if you go around and then just coax that bead round to sit next to the first one, leaving a long tail on your thread, something for you to hold on to, and then you're going to stitch a new bead to the previous bead. Pull that through and then back up the new bead, and then just give it a little push just to take up any slack. New bead next to the previous bead and back through the new bead. And herringbone stitch is worked in pairs, so you need to have an even number that is divisible by 2. And just get your ladder stitch base. So we've got 1, 2, 3, so that's no good. We've only got 3 pairs, we need 4. So 2 more to add. And 1 more. So that's your ladder stitch base. And then we can start with the herringbone. Now, if you've got a few gaps like I have there, it's not quite so as tight as I'd like it to be, you can just tease them, just push, and you can take up the slack if you just push between each bead, and then eventually you'll close the gaps. So I need to turn it over, I want my thread at the top, and I'm going to hold on to those beads. Now when you're working with small beads, this is a bit fiddly. So each stitch is 2 beads, so you pick up 2 beads and you go down the very next bead and you go up the next one, and again pick up 2, and my mantra for this is pick up 2 and pass through 2. So you're picking up 2, just have to coax them into position, and you're passing through 2, you're going down 1 and up the next. So pick up 2, down 1 and up the next, and then at the end it's slightly different because you've only got 1 bead to go through, so you've got to go down that one and then kind of come backwards, so you come back through the previous bead and then step across and come up through the end bead. So your turns at the end when you're doing straight herringbone is a little bit different. So you can see here that the pairs of beads are not actually connected to each other, but they do sit at a funny little angle. So your next row actually connects these together. So it's the same process, pick up 2, pass through 2, so we go down 1, and they always need a little bit of coaxing to sit in place, up the next one. So that has now connected these 2 together. And again, pick up 2, pass down the next one, and up the next one. So you're going down the second bead of your pair and up the first bead of the next pair. So we need 2 beads on, go down the end one, come back through its partner, and then up the very end one, the last one that you put on, without getting your thread all tangled up. And there we go. So that is your herringbone stitch, and you just continue like that. When you get to the length that you've got, you can see on this piece that the top part has also been ladder stitched to bring it all together again, and you can see the chevron now in the beads. That's the pattern that this stitch creates. So when you get to the very top of the piece that you want to connect again, you just go through each bead and connect all those ones that are not currently connected. So for the ones that are separate you need to go a full circuit, but for the others you just weave through in the up and down direction. So when they're not connected you need to go around complete circuit. So you're doing like a full circle or square, whichever, to connect top and bottom together. And there you have your herringbone stitch, which is not very evident in such a small piece, but as I said, on the big piece you can see the pattern, and that's how it brings it together at the end. And that's how to do herringbone stitch. If I just show you a couple of examples, this is what it looks like with your seed beads, and you do need to look fairly closely to see the angle there is where they're facing into each other with the pattern. If you do it with cylinder beads, it's a little bit more obvious. So that's herringbone stitch. So I'd like to show you how to read a charted pattern. So here we have a large pattern. I've increased this by about 25% from the original. And to read a herringbone pattern, all you need to do is get yourself a piece of paper, Post-it or something of that nature, and just line it up, and you can see easily the entire line of beads, and you just move it up as you do each row. You can also see, because this is a large pattern, you can see that the beads are angled, and that's what gives you that lovely chevron shape when you've made your piece of beadwork. Herringbone is another one of those patterns that you can use anything that's on a grid. So you can use cross-stitch patterns, knitting patterns, you can get your colouring pencils out and your graph paper and design your own patterns. So that's how to do herringbone. Have some fun designing, and we'll see you on the next video.